Yes. Hello, welcome. I'm going to actually give it some time for people to come into the live. Okay, see.
Yes. We're talking now.
It's okay.
Introduce
Okay, we are waiting for some more people to come into live. Thank you for coming. Please stop and say hello. I thank you for tuning in tonight. And yes, so we're going to give out a couple of more seconds to let some people come in.
While they're coming in tip at the door. Let's share with them who we are tonight.
Yes, so hello. I am Attorney Tiffany Brown. I am the founder and owner of the law offices of Tiffany J. Brown here in Florence, South Carolina. I want to once again thank you all for joining me tonight, as this is my first live of Sweet and Legal Tips. Sweet and Legal Tips is an idea that I came up with because I wanted to bring my two passions together. I have a passion for being an attorney and open my own law firm. I have a passion for cooking, specifically baking. So I decided to come together and do a Sweet and Legal Tip for my family and friends. And also, one thing I love is baking with my grandmother. And so because I love baking with my grandmother, like all the pound cakes, all the stuff that you've seen post on social media was with my grandmother. So I wanted to do my first live with my grandmother. So grandmother, can you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm delighted tonight to be here with you, Tiffany, to share some of the sweet tips. I am Adelaide Brown. I am Tiffany's grandmother, a retired teacher and home economist, and it is a pleasure to just be part of this activity. What are we making tonight, Tiff?
So we are making pecan chewies. So I love doing chewies. I love chewies. That's like one of my favorite desserts. And chewies is like a nice soft pastry that is chewy. It's kind of gooey and chewy, and I love gooey and chewy things. I want to say, again, this is a sweet and legal tip. So we're going to be baking while I'm going to give you some tips on. Tonight's topic is the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th Amendments. I'm going to be discussing your rights as a citizen of America with the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th Amendment of the United States Constitution. I want to give a disclaimer. Tonight is not a night about legal advice. It's just legal tips and information of your right as a citizen in the United States. So I want to make sure that you all understand that you cannot, I ask that you do not post any personal legal questions in the comments, because I want to protect your rights and myself as well. So do not post any personal or any information on a certain case you may have or a question you may have. This is just a night for legal tips, knowledge, not legal advice. So before we get started, I want to make sure again, do not post any information on legal advice. I'm only going to give legal tips. And also, I want you to follow my Facebook page. If you're on this live, that means you are my Facebook friend. But if you're not, you're viewing off of someone else's page, please add Tiffany Brown, and also like my business page, the law offices of Tiffany J. Brown, LLC. Okay.
Will you share this recipe with them online tonight?
Yes, so this is a famous recipe that my cousin made. Her name is Candace, and so we will be sharing with you my recipe. First, we have 1 stick of butter or a half cup of margarine. So we're going to take this 1 stick of butter or half cup of margarine, and we're going to melt it.
And we're going to melt it in the pot. This pan is a little warm,
Yes.
so we can add our sugar with it and put it in on the water there.
Yes. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 3 cups of brown sugar. And we already have our ingredients pre-measured, so that's what the measurements are in front of us. So once again, I am adding the brown sugar to the butter. What I will say is that there's two ways you can do it. We're putting the brown sugar and the butter in here, and then we're going to put it on hot water to get it to melt. There's another way where you can melt the butter on the stove and add the brown sugar to it, and it will give it the same, it will caramelize it as well. So we're just doing the easy way so that it can speed up the time.
But while you're mixing that, share with us a little tips about the Fourth Amendment.
Yes. So the Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable searches and seizures. That means that an officer or government official cannot search you or your property without having a search warrant. In order for them to search you, you must have a reasonable expectation of privacy. So a reasonable expectation of privacy simply means that you have an expectation of privacy in a certain place or location.
Especially in your home?
Especially in your home. So your home, your office, a hotel room, wherever you are staying overnight, these are places where you would have a reasonable expectation. A place where you would not have a reasonable expectation would be like public places, things that are open. So if you're at home in a downtown, you live in downtown, but you have your blinds wide open and a person can see in it, that means you have ended your reasonable expectation of privacy, because if you have your blinds wide open, your curtains wide open, you clearly want someone to look into your home. So therefore, a reasonable expectation of privacy is when you expect the place to be private and a reasonable person would deem it private. So like again, your home is a very private place. That's the most private place a person can be, in their home. But if you have a business, you have a reasonable expectation for privacy in your business. And understanding that this just means that when you have a reasonable expectation of privacy, that means the officer must have a search warrant or an arrest warrant to search your property or to arrest you.
Well, it's a good thing to remind them that you need to keep your blinds closed when you're near a public road. Am I right?
That is correct.
That's it.
Keep it closed.
Your butter and your sugar have dissolved within the warm water. Now what are we going to add?
So now we are going to add the eggs to the mix. So we have 3 eggs that I'm going to crack. It is best that you crack your eggs in on the side before adding it into your mix so that you won't get any shells in the batter. So once again, I am adding the 3 eggs into the sugar and butter. Shell free.
Yes. As we blend this together, Tiffany, I'm thinking how you are sharing with us the Privacy Act in your home. Home is a precious place, and it should be private.
Yes.
Folks need to know their legal rights while you're in your home.
Right.
Now we have the sugar, brown sugar, 3 cups of brown sugar. We have the 3 eggs. We have the 1 cup, 1 stick of butter.
Right.
Now we're going to add 2, which has already been measured, or 3 teaspoons of vanilla flavor.
Yeah, so we already measured the vanilla flavor, so we're going to just pour all of it in here. And also, with your expectation of privacy in your home, like I stated before, this just means that an officer, when he comes to your home or any place where you have a reasonable expectation of privacy, they must have a search warrant. What does that mean? That means if an officer comes to your door and he knocks and says, "Hello, we want to search your house," you have the legal right to say, "No, sir." Do you have, and first you want to ask, do you have a search warrant? If he says no, then you can say no. That is your Fourth Amendment right.
And Tiffany, you were saying he would have to go back and acquire a legal warrant and then come again?
Yes, that is exactly right. However, I do understand that some people, they feel like they have nothing to hide. They feel like, why not? Yes, I have nothing to hide. Come inside. Understand, everyone, that when an officer comes to your house to search your house without a warrant, that means they are looking for something in particular, and that they know where to find it if they're asking to come without a warrant. So therefore, always say no. However, if you do say yes, if you do tell them yes, you can limit the scope of searching. So therefore, if the officer comes to your house and they ask, can I search your home? You can say, no, you cannot search my home, but you can search my living room, or you can search my bathroom, or you can search my kitchen. You can limit the scope of which the officers can search when they do not have a search warrant. Also understand, that just means that if they do have a search warrant and they knock on your door with a search warrant, you have to let them in to search your house.
These are good tips. You must remember them. Now Tiffany is going to add
The pecans and walnut mixture.
pecans are plenty for this year, so don't walk over them and not pick them up. Take the time to pick your pecans up, and in your spare time, crack them. They're delicious high in nutrients, and they taste real good.
Yes.
Our pecans are there now, Tip. What are we going to add next?
Yes. So the last and final step is to add the flour. We have 3 cups of stuffed rice and flour. So we're going to add it.
Yes.
So it's also good to add flour bits and bits, so that you can make sure you stir it nice and evenly in the mixture. And as I mix up the flour mixture into the pecan mixture, I now want to talk to you about the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment states that all criminal defendants in any criminal case cannot self-incriminate themselves. This just means that if you are a defendant in a criminal case, you do not have to be a witness against yourself. This is also known as pleading the Fifth, that most people know it as. And under the Fifth Amendment is the Miranda rights. And the Fifth Amendment Miranda right protection states that, if you do not know, the Fifth Miranda rights is read as you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to an attorney. You cannot afford one who won't be appointed to you. And then the government official will ask, do you understand your rights? So in the Fifth Amendment Miranda's right, you are granted, a criminal defendant is granted the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney. And that is how they are not able to self-incriminate themselves. With the right to remain silent and the right to counsel in the Fifth Amendment, you must invoke it. You must state, I do not want to talk to you, and you must say, I want an attorney. Give me 1 second as I mix up something.
Let me help you mix. And so you can share it, because this is important. You do have the right to say to law enforcement officers, I don't want to talk with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and that don't incriminate you to make you think that you're guilty?
Correct. Correct.
Good.
So this is in the stage of you were arrested. Once they give you your Miranda rights, which I just quoted for you, they will ask you, do you understand your rights? Understand, them asking you, do you understand your rights, is not asking you to invoke your right to remain silent or to a counsel. You must say to them, yes, I understand my rights, and yes, I would like my attorney. Yes, I will not speak to you, or I revoke my right to remain silent. Because if you do not invoke your right, once they ask you, do you understand your rights, they can start asking you questions and saying things to you without any
Protection of your rights.
Right.
Yes.
So
And Pip, I'm just thinking, most of us, my age, when the police stops us, we're scared.
Yes.
We get so nervous, we pull out our driving license, and we're just wondering, what did I do wrong? When he come to your house, you're really afraid then.
Right.
And these things don't come to mind that you don't have to do A or B.
Right. So it's very important that you do not make the officer's job easy. And that just simply means that you have rights. And within your rights, in order to make their job easy, you just give them all the information. Like I said, the Fifth Amendment right is about not self-incriminating yourself, which means that if the officer, says, did you do it after reading your Miranda rights, you do not have to answer him. You invoke your right to remain silent and do not answer him. And ask for an attorney.
Yes.
When you ask for an attorney and you ask to invoke your right to remain silent, they must cease all questioning. So it's very important to understand your rights, that you do not have to ask a question, but also understand when you are being interrogated and when the Miranda rights are important. Because a lot of times, people are not under arrest, people have not been read their Miranda rights, and they give the officer the same amount of information. So this just means that the officer just pulled you to the side. You may have been speeding, and he pulled you to the side and he asked you, well, where were you coming from? You do not have to answer that question. You can simply ask him, officer, am I under arrest? He will say yes or he will say no. But most of the time, because you're not under arrest, he will say no. So therefore, you will ask, officer, may I leave? He may say yes, he may say no. But whatever it is, do not give him any information that he does not have a warrant to receive from you. So the point of the Fifth Amendment and the Fourth Amendment, well actually all the amendments, is not to give the officers any information that they do not have the legal right to receive from you. If they do not have an arrest warrant, they do not have a search warrant, and they're just stopping you for whatever case may be, you do not have to give them any information unless they have those warrants present. So make sure you invoke your rights. When if you're under arrest and you haven't read your Miranda rights, ask for an attorney. Tell them that you do not want to speak. And when you ask for an attorney, make sure you tell them that you want to call your attorney, Attorney Tiffany J. Brown. At the law office of Tiffany J. Brown. My phone number is 843-610-7969.
Now it has been mixed well, all the flour and other ingredients, and we're going to place it in a greased loaf pan. And it will bake how long?
It will bake for 25 minutes. So we're going to pour this in and spread it evenly. Make sure you spread it evenly and make sure you use a deep pan. With our ingredients and with the measurements, it definitely makes a nice size. So make sure you use a nice widespread deep pan to bake the chewies in. Yes. And so the last amendment, we went over the Fourth Amendment, which is to protect citizens from the unreasonable searches and seizures. We went for the Fifth Amendment, which says that you do not have to self-incriminate yourself. You have the right to an attorney and the right to remain silent. The Sixth Amendment is the right to a counsel. The difference between the Sixth Amendment, right to counsel, and the Fifth Amendment, right to counsel, is saying that in the Sixth Amendment, whatever offense that you are given, you have a right to an attorney. So it's very important to understand that if you were arrested for one case, a criminal case, so say you were arrested for a murder, but you were arrested for murder, you got an attorney for the case, and then you was posted out on bond. And then a robbery happens. And whether or not you were the person of the robbery or not, but you was arrested for the robbery, you must then again ask for an attorney for the robbery case. If you do not ask for a new attorney and if you say, well, I already have an attorney, but if that doesn't matter, you must ask for an attorney for the second case, because the Sixth Amendment right to attorney is very offense specific, so, which means that for each case, each situation, you need to have your own attorney. Also, my grandmother's in here probably like, she keeps saying, but The Sixth Amendment is a very important amendment in the U.S. Constitution because there was a time where people did not have the right to a counsel. There was a time where, in the Fifth Amendment, said you have a right to a counsel if you cannot afford one, won't be appointed to you. There was a time where people could not afford counsel, so therefore they had to defend themselves in the court of law. And the Sixth Amendment granted a person, no matter their race, no matter their financial background, the right to a counsel. So that's why the Sixth Amendment is very important.
Okay. Now it has been mixed well, and now Tiffany is going to place it in a pre-baked oven
Yes.
that has been heated for how long?
350.
How long are we going to bake that?
We're going to bake this for 25 minutes.
Very good. Let's see.
Okay. Yes, so again, we have went over the Fourth Amendment, which is the protect citizens from the unreasonable searches and seizures. Remember that you must have the officers must have a reasonable expectation of privacy. And your reasonable expectation of privacy is within your home, within your office space at your job, within a hotel room, wherever you're going to stay overnight. You have a reasonable expectation of privacy there. Where there's no reasonable expectation of privacy is any type of open place, whether it's visual or public place. So you have no reasonable expectation of privacy in a public place. The Fifth Amendment is against self-incrimination. You have a right to remain silent. You have a right to a counsel. So please invoke your right, your Fifth Amendment right. That's very important. You do not have to tell an officer anything unless he has, well, even if he does have a warrant, you do not have to tell him anything. You have to speak to your attorney. Whatever, even if there's a warrant or no warrant present, ask to speak to an attorney and ask to invoke your right to remain silent. And likewise with the Sixth Amendment, right to counsel, make sure you invoke your right to counsel.
All right, Tiff. Share with your audience that you pre-baked one.
Right. So we pre-bake a chewy, a pecan chewy, and this is how it will turn out. It is still in its cooling down stage, so therefore the chewies are very ooey and gooey. So when you take it out to chill, it needs to chill for at least an hour so that it can fall into place and be ready to serve. So once again, here is the pecan chewy.
Enjoy your chewy.
Yes. And I want to thank you for tuning in tonight for my sweet and legal tips. Tonight I discussed with you all the importance of your Fourth, your Fifth, and your Sixth Amendment rights. And we also made a nice chewy. This chewy has another 25.
Yes.
And I want to thank my grandmother for, my favorite baking person.
I'm delighted to be here, Tiffany.
Yeah.
And here I've learned something over these 7+ years.
Yes.
Okay. And others, I'm sure, will enjoy remembering those things also. And while you're remembering your Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendment, take a bite on the chewy.
Yes.
Have a little milk with it. Give the children a glass of milk and a chewy. And it will be relaxing, enjoyable, and refreshing. Thank you again.
Yes. And make sure you add my Facebook page. Facebook is Tiffany Brown, and like my business page is the Law Offices of Tiffany J. Brown, LLC. Additionally, make sure you add my Instagram page. It's at Tiffany J. Brown Law. Also, make sure you go check out my website. I just released my website. My website is, you can also Google me. I am on Google now. So check out my website. It's www.tiffanyjbrownlaw.com. I thank you so much for tuning in tonight.